I'm Coach Seb, and this is Running New Mexico. Joining me today, I have Kelsey Long. She's a Navajo out of New Mexico, graduated from Valley High School in Albuquerque, and recently ran the Boston Marathon with Rising Hearts, raising money for them. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Like you said, my name is Kelsey Long. My pronouns are she, her. My clans are Kiani Nishle, Klogabashichin, Kislichitni Deshache, Nakai Dinae Deshanele. And I introduce myself in my native language and let you all know who my family is.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you taking your time away to spend some time and talk about your running journey and, this Boston journey. So, my first question is, how did you get into running?
Um, I just told this story today because someone saw me wearing my Boston jacket and we just started talking about running. So I started running because of my dog. Her name was Missy, and she was the absolute best. And she just, I don't know, there's not enough good things I can say about her, but I knew she was going to be my life partner. So I wanted her to be with me everywhere. But she was so bad, just could not, settle down. She dug holes in the yard. She was just bad. And so I started watching Caesar Milan and, working on some of his tricks. And one thing that he said is you got to get their energy out. She was a husky Australian Aussie mix. So she just had a ton of energy. And before I had her, I hated running. It was the absolute worst. I was in cross country in high school and I hated every minute of it. And it was the worst. But because I loved this little girl so much, I started running. Well, we started walking and eventually started running and eventually started entering races. And then I didn't need her as an excuse anymore to get out there. I wanted to be faster. I wanted to be better. And then eventually I wanted to run longer. So yeah, she was really what got me into it.
It's funny. I've had a lot of people kind of talk about the dogs that they run with, and a lot of people really talk about the people that help get them into it and their running partners, and you know the animals that we take with us, the dogs. I've taken my dog out. I know there's a ton of people who do it. They play such an important part in that, and it's a fun way to bond with your pet.
Yes.
So that's kind of fun. That's really interesting though, that's what kind of motivated you.
Yeah. I grew I didn't always live in Albuquerque. For my first, let me see, 11 years, I lived on a ranch, my family's ranch that is 2 hours west of Albuquerque, kind of closer to Gallup. And out there, you just see dogs wandering, and they're just all everywhere, and they really don't belong to anyone. So I grew up not knowing, how not really having an animal as your best friend, as your partner. They were there, and I am and have been single for a very long time. So it was nice to have someone there, something there that made me feel safe, that was I had a companion. So I wanted to make sure she was able to be with me wherever we went. And we did a lot together. We went on road trips and we were constantly out and about. And so she became so well behaved that she was accepted. And so, I mean, that was my ultimate plan was that she would be accepted.
You know, I grew up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and we had I was just outside, so we had a decent amount of land. So I know what you mean. Like we had dogs, but they were always outside dogs, and a lot of them didn't last very long.
Yeah.
They were, rotated through quite a bit, except for one that we had for a long time. But like having a lot of land like that, we just went out and explored constantly. Like we were constantly just maybe not always running, but just moving. Was that your experience too on the ranch?
Actually, no. I was scared of outside, and I think it was my sisters. I
Wow.
blame them. I blame my sisters for making me scared of outside. Because I haven't really bugs are weird. The little feet and just like crawling on you. So it wasn't a good feeling. And my sisters just knew that. So they would scare me with bugs, and bugs were outside. So I was an indoor kid. Growing up, I played the piano, violin, clarinet, and I read a little bit, not a whole lot, but I wanted to stay inside because I was just so scared of what was out there. But eventually I got over those fears. I love being outside now.
Yeah. That is so interesting. That's so like a lot of people I talk to are runners. They talk a lot about like an opposite thing. Like they were just always outside. They were always active, and it was just kind of a natural progression. So this is kind of cool. Like that you kind of came about it in a different way.
Yeah.
You talked about you did do cross country in high school. Uh, so if you hated it, why were you doing it?
Oh, I was a high performing rebel. So I always did really well in school. I did a lot of what my parents told me, didn't break the rules. But I told you I love playing piano, and my going into high school, my mom told me I'm not going to pay for your piano lessons anymore until you play sports because my sisters did it. She wanted me to get on the same track with them.
Right.
And she didn't say which sport. So both of them ran cross country, played volleyball, basketball. I guess the normal sports that other indigenous people do, other Navajos do.
Right.
I chose soccer. I knew absolutely nothing. I read the Wikipedia page, and so I kind of got the rules, and I bought the gear, and I actually forgot my gear the first practice, and then the second time that I was going to play with the team was a game, and I had absolutely no idea what to do. And the coach put me in, and she said, "Just run along the sidelines." So that's what I did, is I ran the sidelines. And so I did that. I played all 4 years of high school. Well, no, I played 3 years, and my summer training for my senior year, I broke my arm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was standing in front of the goal. It was a training, and I went to catch a ball, and it was so fast, so hard that it broke my arm.
Wow.
So I couldn't play. You can't have a cast out there on the field.
Right.
So the only sport that I could do was cross country. And yeah, that's how that went.
That is that is a new one.
Yeah.
That's funny. Like every time I talk to someone, they've always got slightly different things, or there's the kind of normal, like, well, my parents were runners, and they thought,
Mm-hmm.
or they came from soccer, just more, either to get in conditioning for soccer or something. But that's funny.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed soccer. I so eventually stopped playing piano so that I could focus more on soccer.
Wow.
So I haven't played, or I haven't played in maybe 20 years. So that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, I mean, maybe I wish that I could have stayed with it, continued, but I am so glad that I was able to play soccer, that, you know, it moved me into sports and it got me outside because, yeah, it's been a pretty great ride so far.
Yeah, it's taken you to some cool places.
Yeah.
Um, so where did you end up going to school after Valley?
Cornell.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. I told you I was high performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
What was that experience like?
it was entirely different. I could not have expected it. My older sister went and she told me about it, but it didn't, it was nothing like I could have imagined, completely different. Um, so yeah, I mean, the surroundings, the way things looked outside, the seasons, that was entirely different. I had never experienced anything like that. So that was different. And it was hard. For the first time in my life, I was challenged academically. So that was a huge thing too. And I continued to play soccer for the intramural team,
Okay.
and yeah, had a ton of fun with them. And oh, I wrestled in high school, so I got onto the like an intramural wrestling team there, but I never actually competed because I was too scared.
Wow. Yeah, that is a big jump. Like even just going kind of from rural kind of ranch to Albuquerque can be different. Um, although there's parts of like the South Valley and stuff that still fit right into that.
Yeah.
But then to Cornell, like, I mean, you talked about being just challenged in classes and academically, but just, you know, all of that must have been very different. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a shock. Um, and while I was in school, I was able to I got really involved with the church, the Baptist church there, and we did a mission trip to Ghana, and we
Oh, wow.
were told that there would be some sort of culture shock. And for me, coming from New Mexico, I've never lived on the reservation, but my grandma did, and we'd go back and visit her. So I've been on the reservation. I've stayed there, and so you know that culture shock that we were warned about in Africa, I didn't experience it there. I experienced it when I went to New York.
Wow, I bet. I'm sure that there was you had a lot more similarities with the African than you did just like, I mean, I can't even imagine
Rich
like,
white people.
yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, all of that, like just being in a place where like there's not a lot of people that look like you. The surrounding is completely, you know, going from the desert to like trees and like you said, seasons and like actually like cold winters,
Yes,
like no green chili.
you're right.
Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, that is a huge shock for a lot of people.
And it's still really weird for me. I mean, I haven't lived in Albuquerque since I was 18. I'm 36 now, so the math there.
Yeah.
But it's been ages since I've lived there. But anywhere I go, any new place I go, I always kind of mentally take note. Okay, where are the mountains? And in Oklahoma, you know, you don't know. So I
Yeah.
always feel like I don't know how to orient myself in Oklahoma because there's no mountains.
Right.
And it was a little harder in New York, but I was able to kind of figure that out. But yeah, Albuquerque always has a special place in my heart because I always know where I am because of where the mountains are.
Right. Yeah. Whenever I leave the state, I feel the same way. Like, when I go up to Colorado, it's always easier. They've got their Rockies and stuff, but um, my wife's family is from Pennsylvania, and so when I go back there, it's always a little disorienting at first and then all the like just the way the trees kind of surround you in
Yeah.
such a different way. Like it's like I can't see the horizon.
Yeah. And in Oklahoma, you see nothing but horizon.
Yeah. Oh, what took you to Oklahoma?
When I left school, I went to San Francisco, California, to follow a boy, and that didn't work out. And I also ran out of money. And my parents were living in Oklahoma, central Oklahoma at the time. So, I could either, live in poverty in California or, you know, kind of try to help myself here in Oklahoma. And that's what I did. I lived with them for a little bit and got on my feet and found a job and just started working. It, you just do what you need to do to survive.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that. Uh, I think a lot of people go through that at the end of college where it's like, okay, I've got it all figured out. And then it's like, well, wait, no, I don't. I just need to get something and now figure things out.
Yeah.
Oh, so you talked about kind of doing sticking with sports, sticking with soccer through college, doing intramural. Um, how did that kind of help you, get through that time in college and everything? Did it help kind of ground you and give you that outlet?
Yeah, I definitely gave me an outlet and it helped me make friends. I I don't know how to make friends. I'm not outgoing to just go out there and meet new people. So it's more like people find me and they bring me in. And so that's how I make friends. But I don't get like to put myself out there. So I didn't know how to, for the first couple of months while I was at school, I was just alone. I was so lonely. And then I found the team. So that was nice.
That's it's one of the things I talk about with in the kids that I coach, like getting into college, especially if they're leaving. Like, if you're not going to run, that's okay, but like find a group, find something because it can be hard to find your group right away. And
Yeah.
if you don't, it's tough.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I had that experience. I went to a conference last month and I was the only person from my office. And again, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And this woman just decided she was going to be my friend and she took me into her group. So she had 20 other people in her from her office there. And so like I made friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but it actually kind of reminds me of the running community, like how easy it is, like once you kind of find that running community, or like you said, you were talking about how you got into running today because you were wearing your Boston shirt. Like you find a runner, and it's like, oh, there's another one, and they just start talking to you, like, oh, did you do that race? And it's so cool how that just kind of can happen.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So did you find that when you got into running with your dog that you were kind of meeting more people?
I mean, it was really hard. So it wasn't immediate, and the in central Oklahoma, it was a small town,
Mm,
so it was just me and my dog for a long while until I saw that there was a Facebook group for other runners in the area, and so I connected with them, and I think it was also the leaders of that group were really intentional about including me. They made sure that if they were going on a run, they let me know and not just post it to the Facebook group, because they knew that I was the odd man out. I wasn't connected to anyone else in any other way. So they would let me know about those runs. So that was really, that's what really helped me in those first couple of years was Steve and Rita. And they would make sure that I knew what was going on, and they also got me into cycling. Um, yeah, so it's because of Steve and Rita that I have a bike now, and I like going on rides. I had planned on doing a trail run in Texas, and they told me, why don't you try it? Because they had multiple events, a ton of events. And they said, why don't you try the bike ride too? And I was like, I haven't ridden a bike since I was a kid. And they're like, there's a 25-mile distance, and I think you can do it. I mean, you run. And so I was like, okay. So Rita lent me her bike a week before the race. And I was like, okay, this hurts. This is weird, but okay, I'll do it. And so I registered, I did it. And I was so unprepared. I had to go buy a helmet from Walmart. I was wearing my running shorts while I was riding. And so I don't know if anyone else knows, but like you chafe. That seat chafes you. So that was not fun. And yeah, that was an experience, that first ride. But I liked it. So I eventually bought a bike and started doing more of that.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I don't mind biking. I don't know if I could have, yeah, I definitely would not have done a 25-mile. But yeah, it's I hate biking hills. I'd much rather run up a hill than I would.
Yes. Yes. My best friend, she is very similar to me. Like I almost feel like we could have been twins, because we're born like 12 days apart. We're same size, we're just and our personalities are so similar. But she started mountain biking and she loves uphills. She hates downhills and loves uphills. And so I think that's one of the main like differences between us is like, I like to go down, she likes to go up.
Yeah. Down's so much easier. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You just coast, pedal a little bit if you want. But I just, I don't know if it's just because I can never find the right gears or what. Like uphill is just the worst.
It is.
But I bet biking's great, and it's a great cross training for the running too. Like it's so easy to just do time on a bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're prepared for it.
Yes. Get some bike shorts.
Yeah. You talked about that being kind of a high achieving student, and then you in with the running, like with your dog, that you got to a point where it was just like it wasn't just for the dog, like you were starting to like, I want to get better at this. And so like I guess, has that internal drive just always been there for you?
Yes. And it's good and it's bad, because it's good because like I can accomplish a lot, and I'm driven and I want to do more. But it's also been harmful because I sometimes don't know when to stop. And I with the job that I currently have now, I uh, helped build a new office. So I work for the tribal prosecutor at the Choctaw Nation, and that is very similar to a district attorney's office. But imagine a brand new district, a new county just forms, and you have to build that office. That's basically what we were doing. And I had worked for the state before that, so I knew, the kind of procedures we needed for the administrative staff. And so I believe I was the right person to take that on and to do all of that. However, I was so driven and so focused on the task that I neglected and mistreated the people around me. The other support staff that were working, we joke about it now because I've learned from, from that period of time. But like I was so mean, and no one liked me, but I was producing, I was I produced something. It wasn't. I can't think of the words, but I did it. And so I think that maybe that's how I'm, sort of given grace. I'm forgiven for the way I acted, but I don't think that under different circumstances that anyone would have tolerated me.
Right. It's pretty awesome that you're at least able to like recognize that, because some people don't. It's just, oh, I got results and that's it. And like they're very much just, that single focus. So that's awesome that you're able to kind of recognize and see that in yourself. It's so hard for anybody to see the flaws in themselves sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a really great team, so they were able to hold a mirror up and show me what I was doing without pushing me away, because I think that would have been really easy too, is to come at me and tell me that I'm doing something wrong and say it in a really bad way where I'm just like, okay, well, I'm done. See you guys. But no, they were really understanding, and I mean that's why we work well as a team now. The whole office is doing really well.
Well, that's great. I mean, like it sounds like a really productive and good environment.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how did you get involved? Well, before I get to that, I was going to get into the Boston stuff, but I want to get back. When you were running with your dog, when did you said you signed up for a couple of races and stuff, like what made you make that shift from just like, oh, I just need to get this energy out of my dog to I'm going to do some races?
I think it was just that they were offered. I had some local stuff that was available to me, and it was free. Um, and and because of that, I saw my competitive self. I didn't graduate from Cornell. I left for on a medical leave. So from that time to when I started running, that drive, that competitiveness had been dormant. I had not really done anything I hadn't done any accomplished anything. So when I got into that first race and I did really well, I was like, oh, I like this. I want more of this.
Yeah, it gets addicting.
Yeah.
And did you eventually do an ultra marathon? Because you talked about doing the one in Texas and you did the bike ride. Did you end up doing it?
Yes, I did.
How
Yeah.
far?
I did 100K
Ooh,
in
wow.
November. So I just finished that one. And now I'm have my sights on 100 miler.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how high, you know, how much mileage I want to get, but I mean, I think the next stop is 100 miler.
Wow. Wow. What 100K did you do?
It was called the Dinosaur Valley Endurance Run, and
Okay.
it was in Glen Rose, Texas by the Active Joe.
Okay. Wow. What was that experience like? Were you prepared for it?
Oh yeah. So my friend Rebecca, the one who's really like my twin, she and I decided to form a team for Black, Indigenous, and people of color trail runners.
Oh, wow.
So we formed that team, and it's called Dirtbags Run. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was bring runners of color to a space where we can feel safe and included, and just show trail running that people of color want to be here, because we had heard an argument that if you wanted to be here, you'd be here. Well, it's not that easy. There are so many obstacles that runners of color have, and those were financial, safety, to name a few. And so what Rebecca and I did is we decided we're going to take those obstacles away. So we put out a call for applications, and we selected, so the team is comprised of 20 runners of color from all different backgrounds. I can't even list them because it's so diverse. So what we did is we told them, well, we're going to provide you with race registration, lodging, weekend travel, and food. So that is, wow. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just need to get to Glen Rose, Texas, and we'll take care of you from there. And we worked with the Active Joe, and they were absolutely amazing. So one of the things that we required when we were working with a company is that please give us a discount on race registration, because Rebecca and I were going to sponsors and asking for money. So we needed to make the most with what we had. So discount, please. And then also a land acknowledgement. And we followed the Rising Hearts Running on Native Land initiative, where it's going beyond the land acknowledgement and really making an impact on the local tribes there. So Libby was absolutely on board with everything that we brought her. And she now does land acknowledgements at all of her races, and not just Dino Valley.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a fantastic group. That's so awesome that you help do that. Are you thinking about doing it for other races as well?
Yeah, so we did that was our inaugural race, and we plan on doing it every year. Okay. So we have we also have a core team. Our core team is made up of Rebecca and I and 3 other runners of color that are on the team that are part of the 20. So we will meet and make decisions for the team. And so we're in the middle right now of finalizing what our race for this year will be. So we're really excited about that, because these are 2 amazing companies that are based in Chicago and the Pacific Northwest. So, it's a big gap, right. But I mean, it's really great to know that there are great race companies, race directors out there, because, we started our search for our next race back in December, and February, we weren't getting anywhere. And it was really disheartening. And then someone connected us with someone. And that's one thing that we want to do, is let everyone know who these good companies, race directors are, so right. that they can get more business, because those are the ones that deserve to be recognized.
All right, absolutely. And again, I think it's just so important. People of color are so underrepresented in the trail community and kind of in the longer distances in general. I think that's been a big discussion, especially with the marathon and stuff. But yeah. It is, you go into these events and it's you look around and depending on where you're at, you don't see a whole lot of people like you. And
yeah,
that can make it intimidating, and that can make it feel, like you said, unsafe, or just, I don't belong here. And so I love hearing these stories of people doing this now and finding ways to bring people into, these events, because again, I think there's plenty of people who could do well in it, who maybe haven't felt like they've had the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yeah. And one extra thing that we're doing is we're asking race directors and race companies to include non-binary in their registration, and if they do award categories, because we really want to be inclusive for everyone. We eventually hope to grow the team. It just depends on sponsorships,
Right.
but if we can grow the team, we can hopefully get more people who identify differently from male and female
Right.
on the team, and make them feel as welcome as they should, because they're human beings.
Absolutely. And I agree. I just think that's an amazing thing, races being as inclusive as they can, because it does. It just gets more people out there feeling like they belong and wanting to be out there and do things that maybe they love, but again, they haven't felt like they've been welcomed.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's fantastic. It's it, and that argument of if you were here, you'd want to, like, it just, living in Albuquerque, I teach elementary, and I have so many kids that have never even been to the foothills or the Sandia Mountains because they haven't had the opportunity. Their parents are always working, or
Mm-hmm.
they've never been there. And then in fifth grade, when they go on the field trip, it's this eye-opening thing. And then they may not get it out there again until they're older. Like, it's just, it's not as easy as just saying, get out there if you if you want.
Yeah.
So, wow, well, that's really cool. So how did you get involved? I guess so I saw also that you're involved not only with, you ran with Rising Hearts for the Boston, but also with Renew Earth Running. You're part of their run team, which I think they do fantastic stuff as well. So how did you get involved with, I guess, both of those groups?
Well, when Jordan ran the Boston Marathon in 2018 for missing and murdered Indigenous women, that just it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. There were photos everywhere, and so that is when I realized that running could do more. It's not about being fast or being the best or all of that. So it really made me think about what I was doing. So after seeing that, it made me rethink what I was doing, and want to do more. And I started to read more about her and Rising Hearts, and then eventually they opened up the Running with Purpose team, and I applied, and I can't believe I made it, because I just, I had just started, I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what it was, but I felt called to do this. So, it was really incredible that I was accepted. And the same thing with Renew Earth is, I also couldn't believe that I was accepted, because I didn't have a plan. I wasn't Jordan. I wasn't Michael, who are doing amazing things. So yeah, but I was able to meet the other athletes on the team, on both teams. And because of, we have meetings, we talk, and because of them, that is what got me started thinking about Dirtbags, and that I could do something like that. Because before, it was just, I was like, people who know a lot of people, that's who does it. The people who've been running for their whole lives, that's who does it, not me.
Did you ever feel like you're talking about, like, oh, that's not me, people have done this forever, like, did you feel like imposter syndrome?
I probably, but I didn't know what that was at the time, so I wouldn't have used those words. But yeah, I remember being on the call. Oh, I think, and I cried on the first one too. Just being on the call and thinking, I don't belong here. They're going to figure me out sometime soon. Um, but it was the kind of place where you could listen and absorb. You didn't have to be, um, you know, speaking the entire time or have all the best ideas. And that's what I did, is I just absorbed everyone's knowledge.
That's, I mean, that's the way to do it, right? That's fantastic. And I mean, obviously it's worked. I mean, this Dirtbags running is like, I love that idea. It's such a great idea. And like it's filling a need.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, wow. So that happened in 2018, you said?
I think I didn't get onto the team until 2021.
Okay.
So it was a while away, but that's when I mean, I also started trail running more, to went off roads and started to really want to challenge myself. When I first started running, or when I first decided I wanted to run a marathon, I hired a running coach, this man that was just local. And I told him that, eventually I do want to get into ultras. And he laughed at me. And he just, because I don't know, I'm little. I'm not even 5 feet. So like, okay, yeah, I'm little. Um, and it was really disheartening. And I was like, well, maybe I can't do ultras. Maybe I'll just stick with marathons. But being a part of the teams, just having a really supportive community, and then also having Rebecca, because she's an amazing athlete herself. It really kind of pushed me. And it was really funny because we were on a call with a sponsor back in February of last year. And the two of us had been throwing around the idea of doing 100K. We were just like, I don't know, it's a lot. I had not run an ultra at that point. And I was like, yeah, but we were on the call with a sponsor, and then I just blurted it out. Rebecca and I are going to do 100K. And then, so that kind of just sealed it for us. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're training for this.
Wow. I the people who do ultras just always, it's so funny, like, because it's like just this like 0 to 60, like, oh, I did a marathon. Yeah, I could do a 100K, or I could do a 50 miler, or like, no problem. I can double that distance. That'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
So did you have another coach at that time preparing for 100K, or did you do that on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that first coach, I fired him pretty quickly because he wasn't working out for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't work with another one until years later, because it was a bad experience. I was like, I don't want someone telling me that I can't do it.
Right.
So I found Coach Croft. She is an Indigenous woman. And so, I she seemed like a good fit. We talked a bit, and yeah, I started working with her, and it wasn't smooth sailing because I know everything and obviously knew more than my coach. So it was really hard that first cycle. I pushed back on a lot of what she did, and then when I got, it wasn't really burnout, but like I just kind of got bored with training. I just was like, okay, well, I'm bored. I'm not going to do it. There was really no commitment with that first marathon that we trained for. And so it was bad. It did not go well. But I finished.
That's something.
So, yeah. So, yeah, and I really didn't get serious about training until I decided that I wanted to do 100K, because I mean, you have to get serious or else you're not
Right.
going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then she coached me through Boston.
Okay. And how did you get involved with Boston? I mean, you said you're part of the Rising Hearts team, but like, did you say like I would like to do this, or how did that work out?
No, I actually So it was one of those secret dreams that I had. When I first started running, when I had that drive to be the best and do all the things, it was a secret desire I had was to run Boston because that's the best, that's where all the best runners go. But I never talked about it because I was scared that I wouldn't get it. And then people would say, hey, remember when you wanted to run Boston? So I never told anyone about it. And then eventually I moved away from road running and went into trail running. And I think I even said, I don't care if I ever get to Boston, because this is fun. What I'm doing is fun.
Right.
So yeah, I could have never imagined it. And I don't know how Jordan selected me. I feel like maybe she just pulled my name out of a hat because I'm not an elite runner. I'm not fast. um, so yeah, I have no idea how she selected me, but she gave me a call one day and asked me, and I really thought she was joking. I like I said, I don't know how she chose me because, but yeah, so she called me and she asked me, and I said yes after I was sure that she wasn't going to say psych. So, yeah, I think the next call I made was to my coach was, well, we got to start training again.
Wow. So when did you get the call? When was that?
It's so funny because it was so the Choctaw Nation, I work for Choctaw Nation, so there's a tribal holiday for the chief's birthday.
Oh.
And so it was Chief's birthday. I was at the gym lifting weights, and I got a message from Jordan, and she said, "Can you please call me?" And I remember like it was Chief's birthday that I found it out, and that was like mid-December.
Wow. Wow. So what was that like being there, being at Boston, with how big it is, there's just so many people that go there. There's events, like it feels like all week, at least from social media. Like there's constantly things going on. There's panels, there's shakeout runs, there's all of like it almost sounds overwhelming.
It really was. And it was hard to just stay grounded, to remember what I was doing there. Because, excuse me, it was hard to remember what I was doing there because, like you said, there are so many people and I didn't qualify, I'm not fast. So there's always that in the back of my mind is like, you're not one of them. They're the group, and then you're here on the outside because you didn't get here by merit. And that was one of the breakdowns that I had leading up in my training. I called my coach bawling one time because I was like, I can't do this. They're gonna figure me out. I'm gonna let everyone down. It was a mess. But I had my coach, she's still with me. I have my coach, I have Rebecca, and they really helped me to, I guess, sort of feel worthy.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
Um,
but yeah, through the weekend, it was just reminding myself that, I can do this. I'm not going to be as fast as anyone else, but I can do it. I've done it 4 other times before.
Right.
And I've done an ultra marathon, like this isn't okay. This isn't hard, but I know it's hard, yeah, it's hard, but it isn't hard.
Right.
So yeah, I think just focusing on that and just trying to keep all of those bad thoughts away. I was on a shakeout run one of the days and they left me. They were too fast. and they left me behind. And so, luckily enough, I didn't feel unsafe, and I knew how to get back. So it wasn't a big deal, but it was just like, well, I
Yeah.
guess, I'm on my own now. So I kind of figured that was what the marathon was going to be like, because I've been, the one I did in 2021 where I just kind of fell apart. I was one of the last runners to come in. And so, so that's kind of, I prepared myself for that, for Boston, to just be alone for a lot of the course. And that was actually not the case at all. I've said it before, like what people say about Boston, when the crowd carries you, they carry you, because even if there are like 15 people along the course, there are people along the course, and they're cheering for you just as loud as they would cheer for, the person who's at the front of the pack. They're there and they're excited for you. And it was amazing.
That's what I've heard. I mean, it seems like one of those events, like if you can get to it, get to it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And how bad were the hills?
It wasn't as bad. So, okay, hills are hills. And then I started cramping at mile 11.
Ooh,
So it was more annoying. The hills were more annoying than hard, because I knew that meant I had to walk them.
right,
And I had trained to run it, or at
right.
least run the majority before Newton, like all those minors before Heartbreak. So, I had trained for that. And after mile 11, I was just like, okay, well, this is the one where I got to walk. And there's some, my race photos, I got all my race photos, and there's some of them where I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, and then there's some where I'm just like the happiest camper walking up this hill.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
I am so like, the competitive part of me, the part that loves a challenge. Yes, I want to do it again. I want to, because I know I could do better without those cramps. Like, I know I could have gotten a PR. I know that like this would have been amazing, as far a great performance. So yeah, that's the part of me that really wants to go back and do it again. But the other part of me is, I want someone else to have that experience. I don't know. Jordan and I were invited by the Boston Athletic Association. So, we didn't have a traditional entry.
Hmm.
And if they only give out 2 spots next year, I want someone else to get it. I'll try to BQ.
BQ and then do your 100 miler.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. I mean, that sounds, it's easy to say, of course, like, yeah, I want to do this again. I want to do better than I can. But it's also great to be like, I want other people to be able to experience what I experienced and be able to showcase and help out Rising Hearts and all of that.
Yeah.
And you were raising money for Rising Hearts for that. Uh,
Yeah.
and the money just was it a specific thing, or was it just to the organization for their other projects? I can't remember.
Uh, it went to the program.
Okay.
So it goes to the entire program and not really anything specifically. So we had the goal of $10,000, and we actually raised $10,130.
That's fantastic.
So
That's awesome. And yeah, anybody who hasn't, I feel like a lot of people that listen to this have probably heard of Rising Hearts. But if you haven't, like, definitely check them out. Check out the Instagram and the webpage, because they do a ton of stuff throughout the year and offer a lot of really cool stuff. I think they do a lot of amazing things.
yeah. Yeah, right now, this week is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Awareness Week. So there are things happening every day that Rising Hearts is posting about, ways that you can get involved. And on the 5th, Friday, until Sunday, the 7th, there is a virtual run. I mean, there's in-person events as well in larger cities, but I'm going to be participating in the virtual run, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, and this won't come out until the 7th, unfortunately, but
Oh,
there's but with that in mind, just they're constantly doing things and it's always great to hear. So yeah, I forgot that was happening this week as well.
yeah.
So well great. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot going on.
Yes.
You keep busy.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, that's it. It's really cool. Like I didn't know about the dirtbags thing. I'd looked up some stuff about you, but I mostly was focused on the Rising Hearts and the Renew Earth. So this dirtbag thing is like that's a fun little like surprise thing. That's I know I keep on going back to it, but I just really like what you're doing with that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So um, I think that's a great spot to kind of wrap up. Obviously, we'll keep an eye out for you. I'm excited to hear what 100 miler you decide on and how that training goes and everything, because
Yeah.
I'm sure that's just going to be amazing. I mean, it'll hurt, but it'll be
Yes.
amazing.
It'll be I'll hurt. It'll be gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be tears.
Well, that's awesome. Do the Dirtbags have a separate website or Instagram page as well?
Yeah. It is at Dirtbags Run.
Okay.
And so we actually started, Rebecca and I were on the social media team for Dirtbag Runners. And
Right.
it's a larger worldwide community of people who like to be outdoors.
Hmm.
I mainly runners, trail runners, but there are climbers, mountain bikers in there too. So I don't like to limit it to runners, but yeah, we met through Dirtbag Runners, and we wanted to kind of change Dirtbag Runners as well. Because it was mainly focused on white people being outside. So showcasing people of color on that page now who are who do enjoy outdoors, but yeah, just showing them love as well. But yeah, the team of 20 runners is Dirtbags Run.
Awesome. Well, great. So I want to thank you again for your time today.
Yeah.
And I just have one last question for you, and that is, what are you listening to when you're getting ready to go out and train for a marathon or 100K or 100 miler that gets you going, gets you motivated, gets you out there?
It's so silly, but I am a huge Lin Manuel Miranda fan. So I always have Hamilton playing, and it's what I constantly go back to. Yeah, I don't know. It's something about him that I absolutely love.
That is fantastic. That is all your stuff has been so unique. That's just another.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So my team, the Dirtbags, we wanted to do a Spotify playlist, and they're like, yeah, give us the whatever you listen to when you're training. And then
Yeah.
everyone has all these popular songs that and like upbeat and everything. And I'm like, Hamilton.
I mean, there's some upbeat songs in it though,
There
for
are.
sure. I'm really excited. My Hamilton's coming here to Albuquerque this month, and my friend ended up with a couple of extra tickets and invited me and my wife to go. So I'm really
Yay.
excited.
I'm so excited for you. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I still haven't seen it live. So
I'm
yeah, one day.
yeah. I'm pretty I like I probably wouldn't have bought the tickets myself, but I'm pretty grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And like I said, I'm so excited to see how the rest of this year goes, how the 100 miler goes, um, and just all of it. So, thank you. And is there anything else you'd like to say before I let you go?
Um, well, I am learning some Choctaw, so I will end with Chipisalachiki, and that is Choctaw for goodbye.
I'd once again like to thank my guest for their time, and thank you for tuning in. If you have the opportunity, please rate and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, or just help spread the word. Music was provided by Philip Friedman. You can follow him on SoundCloud at DJ Teach. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RunningNM. Feel free to drop me a line or shoot me an email at runningnewmexico@gmail.com if you have any questions or know of someone who should be interviewed. In the meantime, keep running, New Mexico.